Many of us believe that our history defines who we are, that every experience, every version of ourselves, every chapter we've lived must be remembered and carried forward. We think our past gives us identity and meaning, but we often forget that holding on to our history too tightly can trap us in patterns that no longer serve us. True peace in life sometimes comes from releasing the grip of our history and embracing change. Once upon a time, long ago, there was a traveler living in a small village nestled between mountains. This traveler was very kind and thoughtful, someone who had seen much of the world. But for some time, the traveler had started doing something strange. Whatever the traveler experienced in life, every achievement, every failure, every relationship, every loss, the traveler would collect a small object to represent that moment. A stone from a place of victory, a dried flower from a lost love, a torn piece of cloth from a time of struggle. Then the traveler would store these objects in a large sack and carry it everywhere. Whether the memory was joyful or painful, the traveler believed every chapter of life was worth preserving. Each object was proof of existence, proof of having lived and learned. It became a habit, and the traveler even found comfort in it. The traveler thought, "These pieces are who I am. Without them, I would be nobody." Good memories reminded the traveler of strength and worth. Bad memories showed lessons that must never be forgotten. Every piece of history was evidence that life had meaning, that the journey mattered. In the beginning, it was comforting for the traveler. Every day brought new experiences and new objects to add to the sack. The collection felt like a treasure, a testament to a life fully lived. But as time went on, the habit grew stronger. The sack became fuller with new pieces every month, every year. As a result, traveling became harder. The traveler moved slower through the mountain paths, needed more rest, spent hours each evening organizing and protecting the collection. Still, the traveler believed that without this history, there would be no identity, no proof of all the lessons learned. That heavy sack had become like a museum of the traveler's entire existence. But with time, the burden grew more demanding. The more objects collected, the more energy needed to carry them, and slowly it started affecting the traveler's ability to move forward. New opportunities came, invitations to explore distant lands, chances to meet new people, paths that led to unknown places. But the traveler couldn't take them. The sack was too heavy to carry far. There was no room for anything new. The traveler had stopped making fresh memories and instead spent all the time preserving old ones. One day, the traveler met a wandering sage on a quiet mountain road. The sage carried nothing but a small water flask and walked with ease. The sage looked at the traveler, struggling under the weight of the enormous sack, and asked, "Friend, why? Do you carry all of this? Where are you trying to go?" The traveler stopped, exhausted but proud, and replied, "This sack holds everything I am. My history, my identity, every proof that I've existed and mattered. These are all my experiences, victories and defeats, loves and losses. Without them, I would be nothing." The sage looked thoughtfully at the traveler and said, "But tell me, are you living your history? Or is your history living you? Can you truly find peace today when yesterday takes up both your hands and all your strength? How can you embrace change when you're clutching so tightly to who you once were?" The traveler didn't understand. These words felt like a threat to everything that gave life meaning. The traveler turned and continued on the path, clutching the sack even tighter. But this time, something felt different. The weight felt less like treasure and more like chains. The objects that once brought comfort now felt like they were holding the traveler in place. Seasons passed. Now the sack was so heavy and overflowing that the traveler could no longer move forward at all. The traveler had settled in one spot, unable to journey anywhere, trapped by the sheer weight of everything that had been collected. The traveler could barely lift their head to notice the sunrise or the changing seasons. Every conversation turned into stories of the past. Every thought circled back to what had been rather than what could be. The traveler's body ached constantly. Sleep came hard because nights were spent reviewing each memory, touching each object, making sure nothing was lost or forgotten. New people came to visit, offering friendship, but the traveler couldn't make room for them. There was only space for what had already happened. Yet the traveler still refused to let go of even a single piece. The fear was too great. Releasing any part of this history felt like erasing existence itself, like becoming nobody, like admitting that all those years meant nothing. One quiet morning, while trying to add just one more object to the already bursting sack, the traveler stumbled. The weight of every year, every memory, every version of who they once were, came crashing down. The sack tore open, and all the objects spilled out, burying the traveler beneath them. The traveler lay still, pinned under the weight of a lifetime of history. It was a history so heavy that the present moment could never reach through it. The traveler couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't see the sky above or feel the ground below. Everything was buried under what had been. But now, those very pieces of identity that the traveler had protected so fiercely, those memories and objects that were supposed to give life meaning, had become a tomb. They prevented any new life from beginning. The traveler had become so consumed by preserving the past that there was no strength left to live in today. When the sun reached its highest point in the sky, some villagers came walking down the mountain path. They noticed the strange scene, the torn sack, the scattered objects covering the ground, and beneath it all, the traveler who had stopped moving. But the traveler was already gone. The weight had been too much. Soon the wandering sage arrived. The sage had sensed something was wrong and had come to check. Looking at the burial of belongings, at a life consumed by its own history, the sage knelt down with deep sadness in his eyes. In a soft voice, barely above a whisper, the sage said, "History is meant to teach us, not to trap us. We are meant to learn from where we've been, but not to live there forever. Peace comes when we honor the past, but choose to live in today. Change is not the enemy of who we are. It is the promise of who we can become." The sage stood slowly, looking at all the objects scattered across the ground, each one a moment frozen in time, each one a piece of a person who forgot how to move forward. This short story gives us a powerful lesson. Our history is important. It shapes us and teaches us, but it should never become a prison. We must learn to honor where we've been while releasing our grip on who we had to be back then. We often do the same thing as the traveler. We define ourselves by old identities, by past failures we can't forget, by former glories we keep reliving, by relationships that ended years ago, by versions of ourselves that no longer exist. We carry labels from our history: the good student, the one who failed, the person who was hurt, the one who succeeded, and we hold on to them as if letting go means we never mattered. But if we continue to carry every chapter of our history, every old identity, every past version of who we were, we eventually lose the ability to write new chapters. We fail to experience the peace that is available to us right now, in this present moment, and we can't become who we're meant to be tomorrow. Just like what happened with the traveler, many people clutch their history so tightly that they can't embrace change or growth. They stay stuck in old patterns because those patterns feel like identity. But life is all about transformation. It's about letting old versions of ourselves die so new ones can be born. We can't erase what happened in our lives or pretend we are people with no past. But we can choose which parts of our history still serve us and which parts we need to release. So let go of the identities that no longer fit you, the stories you keep telling yourself that keep you small, the need to prove you are still who you once were. Stop carrying the weight of every mistake, every regret, every old version of yourself that you've outgrown. Because we cannot rewrite our history or change what has already happened, but we can write today's chapter with freedom and peace. Release the old labels that don't fit anymore. Forgive your former self for not knowing what you know now. Embrace change as a sign of growth, not as a betrayal of who you were. Choose peace over the familiar pain of old stories. Live as who you are becoming, not who you used to be. Stop organizing the museum of your past and start creating art in your present. And find peace in the beautiful uncertainty of today, in the freedom of not being chained to yesterday. If you believe this story should reach more people, don't forget to like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to stay with us. I'll return again with another inspiring story. Until then, honor your history without being imprisoned by it. Embrace change as the natural flow of life, and find peace in who you are today.